This is Richmond Public Library's 100 Days RVA Reads. 100 days, 100 books, 100 places, and 100 readers. And this is Readers in Cars Getting Coffee. Hi, I'm Georgie Green.
And I'm Jake.
And we're Readers in Cars Getting Coffee. The book we've chosen is Hatchet by Gary Paulson. And here we go. So Jake, you read this book, I think probably in the 5th grade?
Yeah.
And it was probably the first book that I ever heard you say anything really positive about. I mean, because you could kind of relate, or not really relate to a guy that went down in a plane, but you could see how at the age 13 he would really be nervous.
Yeah, it's a really interesting book when you are that age and can relate to the character like that.
Absolutely. So I have heard a lot of adults that really remember this book, and they like it a lot. And I guess it's for that same reason.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people too are like you, where they read the book along with their child or grandchild or something like that. So they probably have a lot of positive memories about it.
Right. Well, I was surprised, frankly, that it went into so many series.
Oh yeah, there were 5 books total. I only made it to the 3rd one until I just kind of realized this guy's a magnet for bad things happening and should probably stay inside, but they went all the way to 5 books.
Yeah. This clip from the CD shows just how much of a magnet he was for it.
At first he thought it was a growl. In the still darkness of the shelter in the middle of the night, his eyes came open and he was awake, and he thought there was a growl. But it was the wind. A medium wind in the pines had made some sound that brought him up, brought him awake. He sat up and was hit with the smell. It terrified him. The smell was one of rot, some musty rot that made him think only of graves with cobwebs and dust and old death. His nostrils widened and he opened his eyes wider, but he could see nothing. It was too dark, too hard dark, with clouds covering even the small light from the stars, and he could not see. But the smell was alive, alive and full and in the shelter. He thought of the bear, thought of Bigfoot and every monster he had ever seen in every fright movie he had ever watched, and his heart hammered in his throat. Then he heard the slithering, a brushing sound, a slithering, brushing sound near his feet, and he kicked out as hard as he could, kicked out and threw the hatchet at the sound, a noise coming from his throat. But the hatchet missed, sailed into the wall where it hit the rocks with a shower of sparks, and his leg was instantly torn with pain, as if 100 needles had been driven into it. Ah! Now he screamed with the pain and fear and skittered on his backside up into the corner of the shelter, breathing through his mouth, straining to see, to hear. The slithering moved again. He thought toward him at first, and terror took him, stopping his breath. He felt he could see a low, dark form, a bulk in the darkness, a shadow that lived. But now it moved away. Slithering and scraping, it moved away, and he saw, or thought he saw it go out of the door opening. He lay on his side for a moment, then pulled a rasping breath in and held it, listening for the attacker to return. When it was apparent that the shadow wasn't coming back, he felt the calf of his leg where the pain was centered and spreading to fill the whole leg. His fingers gingerly touched a group of needles that had been driven through his pants and into the fleshy part of his calf. They were stiff and very sharp on the ends that stuck out, and he knew then what the attacker had been. A porcupine had stumbled into his shelter, and when he had kicked it, the thing had slapped him with its tail of quills. He touched each quill carefully. The pain made it seem as if dozens of them had been slammed into his leg, but there were only 8, pinning the cloth against his skin. He leaned back against the wall for a minute. He couldn't leave them in, they had to come out, but just touching them made the pain more intense. So fast, he thought, so fast things change. When he'd gone...
So things changed pretty fast for him, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that if you were to advise the kid in the 5th grade, would you tell him to go ahead and read this book?
Oh, definitely. It's a great book, and out of all of the books I read at that age, it's definitely the most memorable one.
I think you're right. So, all 100 books of the Great American Read are available at your Richmond Public Library. If you would like to be a reader or to find out where the next reading is, visit rvalibrary.org/100 days. Richmond, let's read. Coffee?
Yeah.